prosecutor Alyse Adamson. Okay, so let's just pull back and let's look at the facts of this first. Number one, there's this panel of judges, right? So this is what they're supposed to do. It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that it is not unprecedented that this would happen. It is rare that they would not recommend that she stay in that role, not unprecedented. Is it, as it has been referred to by the Deputy AG, Todd Blanche, is this an activist move, in your view?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. First of all, you're absolutely right that while it's unusual, it's not unprecedented. And we can't forget that the Senate had already signaled, Senate Democrats, that Habba was not going to be confirmed. So leaving her to continue to lead this office when we knew essentially she was a lame duck, it wasn't going to happen, I think kind of undercuts this entire narrative that this is an activist panel. So look, let's just think about this. Desiree Grace was Habba's number 2. This is somebody hand-selected by Alina Habba. This is not some kind of liberal leftist, which is what Todd Blanche had said in his statement. She's also, reporting says, a registered Republican. This seems like a sensible choice to fill this vacancy that occurred because Habba was not going to be confirmed. So the judges were doing their job. This is within their core scope of their authority. There is precedent for this. And if the Department of Justice doesn't like it, then they can then persuade the president to name another replacement that is ultimately going to be confirmed after their nomination. That is how this should be handled, not firing this number 2, who essentially did nothing wrong.
Well, so to your point then, is that move by the Attorney General Pam Bondi, is that an activist move?
So also a good question. What I can say is legally, it seemed like this was an unlawful termination because while the Attorney General by statute does have the authority to appoint an interim U.S. attorney, they do not have the authority to fire one. Only the president does. And it's my understanding that it was actually Pam Bondi who fired Grace and not the president. So some may call that activist. I definitely say it is questionable, unlawful, and now, put it colloquially, it's a very messy situation in New Jersey.
Yeah, so we'll maybe hang the watch this space sign on that story for the moment. Turning to what we are expecting today, so Bryan Kohberger set to be sentenced. This is expected to last for some time because, of course, there will be a number of victim impact statements, but he will have the opportunity to address the court, to speak. How often in a situation like this does someone like Bryan Kohberger take that opportunity?
That's an interesting question as well, Erica. Not very often. In my experience as a former prosecutor, I saw really 2 scenarios where defendants would be speaking at their sentencing. It's if they were actually showing contrition, they were very sorry for what they did. We have no indication that Kohberger is actually showing any remorse. He pled guilty because he didn't want to die. All of the attempts to take the death penalty off the table failed in his case. The other is to kind of throw themselves on the mercy of the court, hoping for leniency in a sentence. That is not going to happen here either. He has now pled guilty to the brutal murder of 4 individuals. He is facing 4 consecutive life sentences. That was the plea agreement. The judge is not bound by that agreement, but it is highly unlikely he is going to get anything less than life in prison without the chance of parole. So it doesn't really do himself any favors. In fact, it might harm him if he says the wrong thing. And I think that is a distinct possibility here, given this operative set of facts.